All right, this is We the People news. All right, not attorney, not giving legal advice. Okay, uh, arm yourself. Okay, use the Second Amendment. Be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. That's also arming yourself with knowledge, people. All right, and we needed to go back into the basics of yesterday to see what the cause and effect of today is. Okay, uh, before the bar union and all that, um, especially the 14th Amendment. All right, we got to realize that, how would I explain this? We got to realize, even though it wasn't perfect, and I think the intent was honorable at the time, but now it's been so misplaced and so out of control, and the government's been slowly chipping our rights away, right? They did the 14th Amendment. Then they turned around and did the Civil Rights Act of 1873, okay? And which complies into Section 42, 1983, okay? But we don't even fully understand that because it's been so diluted. How in the world did the 1871 um, held every officers liable, and now today they have some citizen immunity when the real act that the 42 1983 is attached to it. Nowhere does it say they have immunity. Okay, um, but once government gives themselves that much power, it's not delegated to them. We didn't give them that power. Realize that, y'all. Um, so I did a little bit of this in previous, um, but we also had to go back with court cases because I want to tie these two in to get some understanding how they apply together. Now, these people don't know one another, okay? And I may do three videos. One is the Justice Revolution, then the other one, Smart LOC TV, and then I'm gonna go with sovereignty. Okay, because what they are all working into is really the true form of our government and not the corporation part. All right, let's go.
So again, we know as citizens of the several states that we have unalienable rights. But if we are moving under the chapter Title 42, 1983, which is a civil rights, what rights do we have? Civil rights, and those rights were given to us by whom?
The government.
The government. Proponents of this erroneous argument begin at section 1983. They conveniently forget that chapter 21 begins with section 1981. Isn't it odd that the proponents of this erroneous argument happen to skip the first three sections, 1981, 1981A, and 1982 of the Civil Rights chapter? Not really, because if they directed your attention to the beginning sections of the chapter, their argument would immediately collapse. Mm-hmm. Well, let's read it. Title 42, United States Code, section 1981A. All persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, give evidence, and to the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property as is enjoyed by white citizens. Can you guys believe that?
This is why no one's winning their 1983 lawsuits.
Can you believe that?
Yes, my spirit knew it. Like, I can't explain that, but
you knew. Like,
when everyone was telling me as a nurse that I needed to go that route, the 1983, deprivation of rights under the color of law route. I didn't know the law at the time, but something in me said, that doesn't seem right. I don't know.
When you look at just the law, how it's written, you're like, wow, okay, yeah, this makes sense. If you just read section 1983, but what about section 1981?
Taking anything out of context, especially historical context and usages, is is our downfall, really, all of us.
Mm-hmm. So here's what's interesting, okay? If you pull up Section 1981 today, because this says Section 1981A. If you look up Section 1981A now, it's completely different. Okay? It's been changed. You have to go back to when it was originally passed. You have to look at the original intent. That's what's so important. No, Brent Gray, you do not want to use the 1981 argument. You want to stay as far away from it as possible.
They're all part of the rights granted as a person from the government as a special right. Oh my God.
Dan, you're absolutely right, because I've experienced this firsthand. When you sue in federal court, you are abandoning all of the protections your state constitution gives you. What have we all been told? We have all been told to sue in federal court because your state court will roll right over you. Now, chances are they will. But I'm starting to understand why Doc Graves, and again, I love Doc Graves, but again, he was a bar carrying member of a bar card carrying member of the bar. But he teaches in his courses to sue in the state courts. But why were we all told to sue in federal court? Well, because you can get redress there better. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I am telling you from my personal experience, I've gotten a big fat goose egg going into federal court because they side with these stupid shysters every time. And because of my lack of knowledge and understanding, it's completely different.
Right.
So again, this is what's amazing. When you look at the law as it's written, here's what it actually states now. Okay, and this was revised 1977. So I just read this section right here, right, on the screen. All persons within the jurisdiction. I'm going to
Now, just so you guys understand, C.J. Grisham, which is attorney here in Texas, actually did the same research. Okay, and yes, they did take it out. All right. So the 1873, which they call it 1871, but when it was all said and done with, it was called it was 1873 when it was said and done with. But even argument case 1871, okay, there was 16 words missing from what they're showing on this right here. 16 words. Okay. That is a lot of missing words that's clearly established. Okay. And being completely ignored on purpose or accidental. Back in the day, they didn't have computers, so it could have been an accident. But the sheer deal that people knows about this and still does not clean the mess up.
It to you as it reads today. If I was to look up this law on the books today, it says all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, give evidence, and to the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property as is enjoyed by white citizens. It's still here. And shall be subject to like punishment, pains, penalties, taxes, licenses, and exactions of every kind, and to no other. That was my mic drop, people, because my mic's actually stuck to a thing here. I can't drop it. Can you believe this?
Missed it.
All this time, we have been advocating for Section 42, Title 42, 1983, Title 42, 1983. But we skip over 1981? Are we dumb? No, we're not dumb. It's people. I mean, we had to laugh at this, right? Because before we started the show, somebody posted a comment that said we're controlled opposition. I was like, wow. If I'm controlled opposition, where's my money? Because no one's paying me for it.
It's really weird laws and codes they put in there.
Exactly.
Piracy? They were like, piracy?
Yeah, but when you read this 14th Amendment clarified document, this really starts to open things up. Let's see, who was it? Was it Brent? No, Mr. Sentinel. You were asking, is this document posted somewhere? Yes. It's on Telegram under the group Affidavits 101. I know Justice will put that up on the screen here if you're watching. So
I just posted in the link, guys. Most of the time when I can catch it, I will take any pertinent documents or really good documents and move them over to a file that I created that's an Affidavits 101 document. I
Yeah.
just put the link in the chat. You can't type in there and chat and all that stuff, but you can go in there and find documents. So
it's pretty simple to find.
I'll move it into there also.
Because, get it, got it, well, she gets it, she got it. Person and State Administrative Procedures Act is a legal entity, and you're going to see this. So, under the 14th Amendment,
By the way, this is what I talked about in previous videos. They just finally started catching up with me. Allegedly, okay? Because when she just put that on there, it's really called the 1947 Administrative Act. Okay? That's when that was created. And it was by all the attorneys across the United States that came up with this. Congress had zero authority to adopt this because it was in conflict of interest to the people.
clearly persons are being distinguished from white citizens. This is because the term person, as used in Section 1981, is the same person as in the 14th Amendment, who is the same person as in the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the Enforcement Act, and the Freedmen's Bureau Act, all of which deal exclusively with one class of person, which is any person born in any state of the Union who was held in bondage of slavery or involuntary servitude, and under the provisions of the constitutions of such state is not a citizen thereof. It is also crystal clear that 1981 gives persons at which white citizens already have. Certainly Congress didn't write 1981 to give white citizens what they already had before 1981 was ever conceived. Does that make sense to anybody?
Right.
It's mind-blowing. It really is. It is really mind-blowing. So let's look at 1983, right? This is the statute we've all been told that grants us the authority.
Now, that being said, people, I want to just argue the case. This is not a sovereign citizen movement thing. This is documents in writing that the government has caused.
To sue someone who denies us our rights under the color of law. Every person who, under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory, or the District of Columbia subjects or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution, blah, 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 blah. You guys, I have filed lawsuits in federal court, and I used this statute, and the liars filed motions to dismiss, and the court granted them because they said that they were not person. The people I was suing was not a person under the title of this statute. But again, when we're reading this, the everyday common layman's use the term of the word person. I'm a person, Erica's a person, Justice is a person, we're all persons.
Mm-hmm.
But in legal context, that's not who this was written for. That's what we have to understand. Yeah, Brent, you got it, dude. Just as the civil rights law didn't grant us new rights we didn't already have.
Yep.
Anymore.
And then when you look at the person on there and what they're talking about, right? Now, government is conducting business. They are, in fact, a person.
See, this is the thing that I think is important to understand. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. We all have unalienable rights that were granted to us by our Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Constitutionally speaking, those rights were only afforded to a certain class of people. Congress has done what they can to rectify the wrongs. Unfortunately, this is where we are. I hope things change. I really do. I see a bright future. Things are going to get really rough.
So is it accurate for us to come as we the people?
I think so. I think it's actually more accurate to sue if you need to sue someone, it's more accurate to sue in a state court as one of the citizens of your state, not of the corporate state, but as one of the several people of the Union State of Utah, in my case.
And to avoid you using any codes or statutes to do so?
You don't need them.
Shouldn't have to, yeah.
We
It
don't.
harms you to do so, right? Doesn't it
It
take
does.
you into a different realm?
We don't need them. We have so many common law causes of action: abuse of process, fraud upon the court, trespass is a common law cause of action. Trespass upon my rights is a common law.
Maladministration of office.
Maladministration of office. All of these things. And anytime we move under those causes of action, now we have certain protections.
And for people who don't know, also in the common law, domestic abuse, right? That was a common law government against the people, okay? And government is causing domestic abuse against you. It wasn't really for family. Again, I wanted to stretch that out because we've been so misled by these shysters, and them actually not doing research themselves. They only been taught certain process in colleges. But when they don't look up nothing themselves, like we don't, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Guarantees that take us out of these administrative courts, out of these processes that deny us our due process rights, and puts us into an Article 3 constitutional court of law, one that is required to be heard by a jury, one that is required that the facts and the law are decided by said jury, not by some joker in a black robe, or as Dave says here, the criminal in the black robe. Okay? That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm actually helping my friend write up this suit. And I'm going to write this in a way, I'm going to drop a ton of bricks on this freaking stupid judge who signed this motion for summary judgment in the clear absence of all jurisdiction. He had no authority to do so. But guess what? Since he did that, he has no judicial immunity at all. And now we can go after him individually.
Right, he acted outside of the capacity that he was granted power to act within.
He was not granted that authority by we the people.
Did-
Period.
All right, this is We the People News. Bye, y'all.